The next day, the British government rushed an emergency bill through the House of Commons. Known as the Restoration Bill, it promised the Church of England £6 billion to help prevent its collapse. Many members of Parliament objected to the bill, and it was passed with only the slimmest of majorities. There was public outcry when it was realised that taxpayers would have to carry the can of the Church of England's zeal at the betting shop. Various ban the bill demonstrations were organised by angry taxpayers and the followers of other religions who objected to what they saw as favouritism and government bias. A number of such demonstrations ended in violent confrontations with the police, and the Archbishop of Canterbury was pelted with rotten fruit wherever he went. The government remained resolutely behind its restoration bill. The Prime Minister was something of a nut himself, as was most of his cabinet. The Church of England, even with the money promised in the Restoration Bill on its way, was hardly able to keep afloat. The Archbishop, refusing to resign himself, was forced to sack scores of priests and sell off half of all the Church's property. This totalled some 15,000 parish churches and the cathedrals of Winchester, Sheffield, Brecon, Derby, Ely, Bristol and Norwich. As soon as they were put on the market, Edgar Malroy, to no one's great surprise, bought up every one of the churches and turned them into betting shops. The Archbishop of Canterbury was said to be delighted by this. The cathedrals Edgar turned into storage depots for the countless receipts his company was acquiring at the rate of something like 100 a second. 14 oil platforms in the North Sea had already been filled to the brim. The Archbishop also struck a number of lucrative sponsorship deals. Every single stained glass window owned by the church was removed and replaced with windows that had painted on them the words, "Glaxton Double Glazing, a family company with over 50 years' experience." Priests' gowns had the names of various companies sewn on them, like the jumpsuits of racing drivers. Most of the names that were sewn on priests' gowns belonged to insurance companies. Edgar paid a 7-figure sum to have every priest of the Church of England, including the Archbishop of Canterbury himself, wear pink furry question marks on their heads. Whenever any clergyman from the Church of England bowed his head in prayer, the furry pink question mark on his head would sway to and fro. A moratorium on the new priests was declared, but even after such drastic measures, the Church found itself completely unable to continue payment of its pension scheme, and some 7,000 retired priests and their families, along with 5,000 widows, found themselves with no money at all. It soon became a common sight all over the country to see old folk surrounded by grubby shopping bags, sitting in town centres with bits of cardboard with the following sort of message written on them: "Retired C of E priest, homeless, hungry." Those priests who had not been sacked were forced to take an 80% cut in salary. All kinds of money-making schemes were tried. The General Synod recommended that priests should wash their parishioners' windows for a competitive rate, and soon it was a rare sight indeed to see a priest without a ladder over his shoulder and a bucket of soapy water in his hand. Church of England priests cut their congregations' hair. They shaved them, treated their corns, gave them back massages and facials, did their nails for them, and took home their washing and ironing. Thousands of priests became part-time interior decorators, plasterers, plumbers, and electricians. "These are desperate times," remarked the Secretary-General of the Synod. "Get out there and hustle." One priest in Liverpool had 4 massive coin-operated washing machines set up in his All Saints Chapel. Some churches had pool tables, fruit machines and TVs installed. Others offered bodybuilding gyms and tanning salons. About 400 priests applied for alcohol licenses, and nearly half of the churches still owned by the Church of England began offering a wide selection of freshly made sandwiches and other light snacks. Some churches were turned into bedroom and kitchen furniture showrooms. The idea was that married couples would be able to buy what they needed as they got married. Other churches were used as boarding kennels. Others became bowling alleys with automatic scoreboards and free coaching. In Chichester, a church cornered the local frozen ostrich leg market with rows and rows of freezers in between the pews. Priests became car dealers or sold camping equipment or crammed their churches with the highest quality carpets, rugs, cushion floors and vinyls, all at affordable prices. Just about every single one of the money-making schemes tried by the Church of England turned out to be a dismal failure and lost yet more money. Priests seemed to be just terrible at doing anything practical. Various committees reported to the General Synod failure after failure. Things looked bleak indeed. Another 4 priests were found hanging in their belfries. Aloha. A Lambeth conference, held in Canterbury, was told of the church's downward spiral. Everyone present prayed like Billio. Only one church in the whole of England was found to be making a profit. That was the church in Chichester, which was selling frozen ostrich legs at unbelievable prices. It was then realised that there was one gap in the market which the Church of England ought to begin exploiting to the full. Every other scheme was abandoned, and the whole church put its weight behind the idea. Within a month of the Lambeth Conference, the Church of England became the closest thing there was at the time to a chain of supermarkets.